What should I do with this microphone? Okay, it's powder.
Okay. Welcome everyone to Optimizing Romance, Swipe Right for Love, presented to you by Six Strands Speakers Club Spoke Club and in support of the Gilders Club of Toronto. We have come a long way since love letters and MSN Messenger and some of the other things we used to do.
MySpace.
Way back when. MySpace. Before the Facebook era came about. But it's all coming about with technology, and it's helped a lot of people, but it's also confused a lot of people. So, without further ado, let me present my panelist for the evening. To my right, she is, can I present you Shannon, aka Shanny in the City Tab. She's a boutique matchmaker and dating expert in Toronto and founder of Shanny in the City. She's worked in the industry since 2010 and has a passion for helping singles find quality matches that lead to healthy relationships.
Most definitely.
Shani has worked with many divorcees and singles, helping them get back into the dating world and open up their hearts to love by ensuring clients are 100% date ready. She provides dating consulting sessions, like-looking skills, and even goes on mock dates with her clients to test out their skills, aka Shani has hosted many engaging social events in the city and is also hired as a feature expert in the Globe and Mail, Breakfast Television, Global News, ET Canada, CBC Radio, and the Huffington Post. So Shani, welcome to the panel.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
My next guest, Mr. Tom Barker, is a digital expert, entrepreneur, and innovator. Tom has worked extensively with supercomputers, complex computer algorithms, and chatbots. He's integrated a digital fortune teller. President of Six Strands, he was the founding chair of the Digital Futures Initiative at OCAD University. His projects include the world's first Bluetooth headset, the London Eye's first real capsules, and collaborations with late architect Zaha Hadid. His projects have won awards from the British Academy of Film and Television and Saatchi Media Awards. Tom has publicly made many media appearances, including CNN, Channel 4, ABC TV, and radio. Follow him on Twitter @SexPax. And I'm your host for the evening. I am a graduate of the College of Sports Media and a reporter for the RBC Canadian Open representing Global TV, and I'm happy to be here with you. So, let's get started. Big times. It's changed so much over the years, guys. And the one thing I think that's changed the most about it is our smartphones.
Should introduce Dimitris.
I'm sorry, Hardman the person. Sorry, Dimitris.
Still there.
No, not a problem. It's not a problem.
Our last host, Dimitris Gino Sanchez, with a PhD in media philosophy and aesthetics. Dimitris focuses on the role of media and cultural technologies in shaping aesthetic century perception. His research is at the intersection of philosophy, media, and cultural studies, communication theory, and second-order cybernetics, oriented a form of ontoaesthetics. Dimitro is appointed professor at the Digital Arts Postgraduate Studies program at the Athens School of Fine Arts. Dimitris, thank you for staying up so late right now in Greece. I know it's a 7-hour time change ahead of us, but we're happy to have you here.
Thank you, Ryan, for the lovely introduction, and thank you, Tom, for inviting me to your wonderful discussion panel.
It's a pleasure.
So our first theme for the evening is called Chizo or Cherubic. And the first question I have is for Shannon. Shannon, you're a dating expert in the matters of the heart. But can we lay one big question to rest about online dating? Now, a quarter of the people think that it is for losers, even though 17% of marriages were tried between couples that did meet from online dating. But 90% of single folks have tried it. What is the truth?
Well, the truth is, it's not all losers, okay? I think some people have had bad experiences with online dating. Therefore, they're saying that these people are losers, but they're not. I think it's a lot of like-minded people like yourselves who are busy, they're career-based. So they're busy, they don't have time to meet people organically. So this is one way of them meeting other singles online.
Okay, Tom, online dating is a big business. Are the algorithms and dating sites designed to make money, or are they designed to find your perfect match, or even a bit of both, maybe?
So this is very interesting because the big thing you read about in the press a lot these days is now algorithms and data analytics. And it sounds pretty exciting. It's also pretty incomprehensible to the average person as to like what the heck is going on. Now, an algorithm is basically a recipe that is written by a coder or by a machine with support for a coder in order to figure out a bunch of stuff. The difference between like a normal recipe to bake a cake, say, and a computer algorithm is that the cake should come out looking like the photo, whereas the computer algorithm is designed to change and learn depending on the amount of information and data that you put into it. So some of the really fancy algorithms that are being used now for the dating industry are actually looking at who you dated unsuccessfully as much as anything else, because that actually forces a big process of elimination. It's like, who's left? And I guess at a certain point, Shannon and people like her like have to, I mean, you're using your brain to do that, yeah? Mm-hmm. But the computer doesn't have that level of intelligence, so the massive level of filtering is important. The other element as well is that data analytics mean that this stuff can be free, so if you're on Tinder, you're not paying, but they're making money out of you. So your data, your information is being aggregated and sold to industries and organizations that want to know about human behavior and dating behavior. You're also getting hit with adverts, et cetera, et cetera. Ideas and ads are getting pushed to you. The other element is that paid websites are increasingly being considered elite. So yeah, there's the free one and there's the VIP version. So it's kind of gone from, yeah, there was a scandal not that long ago, Madison Avenue, where it emerged that a number of the profiles were fake, to the companies now trying to like curate who's going to be there and inviting people to pay a premium in order to have that service. I guess the other element as well, which is kind of interesting to me, I was just reading about this the other week, is that apparently the optimum number of partners to have a serious relationship with, and you can tell me whether this is true or not, is about 12. If you date 12 very different and diverse people, then that is about as much as we can cope with cognitively in order to start to make a decision about what kind of person we want to be with. So what I find so interesting, and perhaps like a subject for today's conversation, is that so many people are and I think a friend of ours, Sarah Lee, who's here tonight, described Tinder as like being in a buffet, an unstoppable buffet. We're grinding our way through all these potential relationships, and yet cognitively we can only deal with about 12 diverse ones before we, in theory, could settle down. I guess the big threat, and I'd love to hear your comments on that actually, but I think the big threat for me, like for the algorithmic side, is fake profiles. And these are becoming worse than fake profiles now because we have chatbots, so
fake photos.
Robots pretending to be people, fake photos, stolen identities. Those are all the big threats. But do you want to, can we interrupt and have a comment here?
Yeah, and
what do you think about how many people do you need to date before you find your partner?
I think, yeah, probably, I think talking to at least like 7 to 10. Anything more than that, you get overwhelmed with choices, right? So, and a lot of times you can only go on maybe 3 dates a week with new singles. So I think it's not about having this mass choice to pick from, but just you, as yourself as the single, you have to do the screening while online. So just setting expectations. What are your intentions? Are you looking for long-term versus, you know, hookup or something more casual? I think you just really have to be clear with your intentions so that you get rid of all of the riffraff that you don't want to deal with.
I think also with the new, millennial generation on their phones all the time, in a way the internet and social media and dating apps, they've kind of brought everyone together more than ever we could have ever imagined, in history. But also at the same time, I feel people are sometimes reliant on it, and they feel the only way they can meet someone is maybe perhaps on an app, and they may not know how to approach a woman, or may not know how to socialize as well. So even though dating apps have brought so many people together, it's actually kind of pushed people apart in a social aspect as well, I think.
Yeah, human interaction has definitely declined. I read an article yesterday how, you know, this guy was out at a bar and he was next to this woman and she was actually on Tinder rather than talking to him and engaging in that moment. So we're seeing that people are so tied to their phones, they're tied to the dating apps that they're not even like aware of their physical surroundings, which is really sad.
Okay, Demetrius, this question is for you. You're a philosopher. We hear the term sapiosexual applied to somebody who finds intelligence and the human mind to be the most sexually attractive feature of a potential partner. Are the people with the smarts getting a head start in the digital domain as they text wittier, respond sassier, and generally are better with words, or is it different to be writing a letter from the Romantic period 200 years ago?
Well, Ryan, although I am certainly not a technophobic, quite the contrary, I have never been a social media enthusiast. As a matter of fact, I have never used any of these platforms, so I cannot tell if users are becoming wittier and intellectually more versatile, or if communication in the digital age is getting more and more formalized, predictable, and idiotic. I presume that it's both, but what I can tell you for sure is this. What your question essentially implies is a certain distinction between mediated artificiality and non-mediated physicality. This is what you actually mean when you refer to the case of love letter writing. Is writing a love letter by hand on a piece of paper different from texting in an impersonal chat room? Is it more natural or humane? Now, allow me to elaborate a little bit on the subject from a more general perspective. The artificiality versus physicality distinction is one of the most dominant and fundamental binarisms that have been pervading our 2,500-year-old operating thought system. Nature versus culture, physicality versus technicity, and so on. But if we examine the matter from a non-moralistic, historical perspective, it appears that sexuality has always been inextricably interwoven with technicity and design strategies, whether they be sociocultural, such as societal practices and structures, pictorial representations, alphabetic writing, photocinematography, music, and so on, and even narcotic substances, or technoscientific in the strict sense of the term, as in the case of alphanumerically programmed computer technologies, along with their virtual and augmented reality systems, interactive interfaces, and immersive environments.
Thank you, Demetrius. Our second theme is called Machine Love, and I think we can all familiarize ourselves with that. Tom, you are our technologist on the panel. Many people have confessed to discussing the love for Siri at some stage, or love with Siri, should I say, as we've all seen the movie Her, starring Joaquin Phoenix. But I really don't recall anyone telling me that the good news from a chatbot. Where's the technology right now with this, and are people really going to fall in love with a computer one day?
Okay, so what's going to happen one day is tricky to say. What I can say right now is
sex
that
robots.
You've seen them in the movies. I was thinking Barbarella's a good example of that with Jane Fonda. Yeah. So there is that, and I mean, we'll come back to the movies because it is interesting how a lot of design talent and creatives are pushing these ideas in Hollywood now. So maybe that will happen. Artificial intelligence, or AI, has got a super long way to go. Most of the people who are big proponents of it, saying it's going to replace humanity, are not actually involved in the field. The results are painstaking and incremental, and you'll all be familiar with the number of years it's taken for the mobile companies, and Apple and Android and so on, to figure out how to do the correction when you're typing a word, and it's still not perfect. Yeah, lots of funny mistakes. Right now, artificial intelligence can imitate emotion and depth, but it's much better at problem solving. And I think, Shannon, you'll probably agree that like a relationship that is based on problem solving is not really going to work on a human scale, yeah, or a permanent basis. So
no, the robot will agree with everything you say.
Yeah, and I mean, what's this, Stepford Wives, yeah? So the point really is when you're talking about human being, and Demetrius and I, we've had long conversations about this across the Atlantic, is, you know, we're still trying to figure out what consciousness is and whether it can exist within a machine intelligence. And whether you're seeing that from a spiritual perspective or whether you're seeing it from an analytical or a machine-based perspective, it's still something we don't understand. We still don't understand how the brain functions. We understand how it's wired, but brain surgery is still pretty much like throwing a jelly at the wall and trying to nail it up there. So I would say, yeah, in the future we'll probably get closer, but right now there's a world of difference. Now that's not to say there aren't kids out there who are more into their phones than their girlfriends or boyfriends. Yeah? And there's the phone companies, the operating system companies are subtly getting more anthropomorphic, so they are encouraging us to get emotionally re-engaged. I have a little robot doggy called Aibo, which I bought 10 years ago for fun. Sony made it. It's completely useless, but it was nice. The dog walked around, recharged itself. They've just relaunched it, and it's got longer battery life, it's got more emotions, etc., etc., etc. So we are starting to see a creeping kind of cohabitation between the minds of machines and the minds of humans. But I think we're a long way off falling in love with an artificial intelligence.
I think we're a long way off from that even happening in the near future. We all know about the IBM supercomputer, Watson, that pretty much destroyed everyone on Jeopardy, but that's just not something they store on a phone. There's like a whole division in the building to support the hardware for him, right? So I think that when they can get that technology to have it in an area this big that can actually reason, AI that can actually reason, that would be quite impressive. So we'll have to cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah. Do you have to wean your clients off technology for this reason, or not really?
Not yet. This hasn't been an issue as of yet, no.
I wanted to ask you, so you're matchmaking, you're taking them out on actual dates, but do you give them advice on how to talk, you know, when someone's with
date conversation is very important because a lot of dates turn into interviews. That's why I say don't go for coffee, because coffee is business, it's interview. And don't go on a date after work wearing your work outfit because you're still in work mode. So you need to change, get into date attire, feel sexy, go somewhere other than a coffee shop, and that way the atmosphere's, you know, set, it's more of a sexy vibe and you're gonna feel like you're on a date rather than an interview. And also sitting across from each other becomes an interview. So I recommend, you know, for a first date kind of sitting at the bar or sitting next to each other as opposed to across. This is like more cozy, now we're flirting, there's share plates. So I think those are some really good tips just to take note of.
Demetrius, the question I have for you is...
Excuse me, just a moment. May I add something on the subject
Absolutely,
of consciousness?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Raised by Tom. A very well-known British mathematician and psychoanalyst once stated that human consciousness does not have to be limited in the body. And he proved it by invoking a case of a former patient of his who believed that her consciousness actually resided in her analyst's body. So this may happen without the mediation of digital technologies. It actually happens in real life.
Well, that's really interesting. In fact, I was just thinking this morning as we were preparing, I thought, I wonder if there are opposites to you, Shannon. Are there people who are breakup specialists?
Oh yes,
to see
one of my
you through that?
girlfriend, yeah, breakup recovery.
Well,
and then they go online right after.
So there is a point, and again, I think
there's a niche for it for sure.
Yeah, and there's a cognitive philosopher, Douglas Hofstadter, who argues that as you develop closeness to a person or empathy, a piece of your brain is actually being set aside to mimic their behavior and their components of cognition. And that might sound completely crazy, but if you think about it, if you have a great partner, life partner, You can anticipate their response to things. You can do things that they'll enjoy and appreciate because
you pick up their habits.
Yeah, and you can guess what their answer might be to something that you don't already have any information on. Getting that out of your mental state can take a year or years, or sometimes it can't ever happen. So the pain of breakup is mimicked internally in your head as you try and shake off all of that association and the kind of responses that your partner or your close friend may have. So yeah, it's real.
Demetrius, the question I had for you, the term technosexual is a new phrase that encompasses our love of gadgets. It is even claimed that hookup apps are more stimulating than the actual hookups themselves. Are we entering a phase of machine love as gadgets become ever more anthropomorphic?
No. Well, as I have already made clear in my previous intervention, it is my conviction that there is nothing less natural than sexuality itself. In that sense, present-day hyper-technologization of sexuality appears to us as an ethical issue as soon as we perceive it in contradistinction to a certain order of physicality and naturalness. But as I have already suggested, this very distinction is historically determined and thus deconstructible. As far as I am concerned, the crucial question here is not whether human sexuality is becoming increasingly formalized and technologized. To the contrary, the question that matters the most is whether today's technologies actually enrich in a truly vital and radical diversifying way a body's psychosexual experience and behavioral patterns. Again, the answer here to that question is both positive and negative.
There's always two ways to look at everything, I suppose, in that regard. Tom, what would you say about that?
I think, you know, the interesting thing, the debate of like the organic or the human versus like the machine, it's going to fade away as we see this augmentation, yeah? Because already you could argue, and I think I'm probably coming on to the next question anyhow, but you could argue that something like a mobile phone is an augmentation of an individual. Like, if you are a good individual and you're outgoing and you're communicative, then you'll use that tool in that way. If you're not, you may use it in other ways. You might use it to troll people. You might do all the ghosting and goodness knows what that goes on with dating with apps. We got a chip delivered to our office today, which is called a Proton, and it's about the size of a little eraser, kid's eraser. It's a complete Internet of Things chip that does everything. Like, you can create a server on it and it can control your environment. Now, you pay a little bit more money, and that is the size of a fingernail. And that's now small enough to put into an individual. We're going to start seeing this happening. People will be choosing to augment themselves. Like, what a great thing to have a better memory. What a great thing to be able to look stuff up without having to turn on your computer and boot it up, etc., etc. I think the weird thing, though, is we tend to think of data at the moment as being something that is kept somewhere in the cloud or on your computer, and you worry about data security. If the data is part of you, it actually takes us back to where we began in the first place, which is we always held stuff in our heads, and when we couldn't remember it, we wrote it down. In fact, I mean, we got Demetrius here. Well, the original Greek philosophers didn't really like writing books. They only did it because they were worried that stuff would be forgotten. They preferred dialogue. And I think in a way, as we kind of absorb some of these advances and they become less contentious, then we might actually get back to that notion of dialogue and conversation.
And speaking of dialogue, the question I want to know, Shannon, I've wanted to know this since the show started tonight. Now, a lot of people think that dating apps were created for quick hookups. But studies show that 75% of users actually want true romance. Do you think the triumph of love over sex is a human need that spans generations across time? Or is this a new trend?
Yes, I do. I think even more and more we're seeing millennials that are looking for romance versus just a quick hookup. I think deep down we're all looking for, you know, that Cinderella Pretty Woman moment. And now with technology, we're hopeful that we might just find it online. So we're able to choose from a hookup site like Tinder and give Bumble a shot, which is known for more long-term relationships. So now we're seeing that there's more choice, as you know, before it was just like Match.com or eHarmony. So there's more options for us as daters. And having a variety of options to choose from has made it more difficult to throw in the towel and pick one person. So with online dating, although we want romance and love, dating has become more casual than serious. So online daters are feeling discouraged, frustrated, as they don't know what people's intentions are. And when you're swiping right or left based on a photo, attraction is the determining factor. So if your photos are not up to par, then you could be missing out on a love connection. So, and that's really sad. So this is why many online daters have sourced out other dating services such as matchmaking.
Now, what does that have to do?
Because they're feeling so frustrated because they match with somebody, but then nothing happens, or they're becoming pen pals instead of mates, and it's just like, where's the disconnect?
And you told me earlier, before the show tonight, that the movie Hitch actually inspired you.
Me, yes.
So it's funny how things happen.
Yeah, so
but
yeah,
what does that have to do in regards to loyalty? For example, my grandparents have been married 67 years. They met at a university dance where the women would put their left shoe into a pile, and men would find the shoe and dance, asked a woman whose shoe she found to dance, similar to Cinderella's story, and they've been married for 67 years ever since. But now, because of technology and all these dating apps, and there's so many options, how does that keep someone loyal? Because, see, back then they had to work through their problems, right? And like people do in relationships, but now a lot of people will just kind of, I feel, will just say, okay, well, I'll just log on to Bumble. There's a million people out there. I can meet someone tomorrow if I wanted. So how does that relate to like loyalty, and how do the dating apps relate to loyalty? And is it within the person itself?
Well, I think the loyalty starts when you're off the dating app and you've found someone special enough to stop online dating. So until then, it's pretty much just going through a cycle of people, seeing who's going to connect, who's not going to connect, and then having a conversation, you know, are we exclusive? And, you know, let's delete the Bumble account, make sure it's deleted, because I know a lot of couples that forget to do that, and then the friends are like, oh, I saw that guy on Bumble, and you've been dating him for 3 months, so that can get really testy. So always make sure you do a full cleanse of your dating apps and delete that so that it doesn't backfire on you. Stats have shown that people who meet online actually get married quicker than people that meet organically. So I think that people are doing the work online. Maybe they've been online for 2 to 3 years, and then boom, it happens. So I think it's about really being patient. Online dating takes work, patience. You need to maintain a positive attitude. If there's one online dating site that's not working for you, then try a new one. Don't give up, because when you give up, that's, you know, men are going to feel that, women are going to feel that, and that's when, you know, you're not feeling good about yourself either. So I think you have to just stay focused, stay motivated, and ask for help. Know that there's services out there such as me who coaches people how to create an online profile or take your photos and represent you in the best angle. So many people have selfies or their shirts off or their boobs are out, and then they're wondering why they're attracting douchebags. Well, because your whole chest is showing. So you have to really represent what you want. You know, showcase yourself doing hobbies, like say you love golf or skiing. That's a better way to create conversation as well. You know, that's going to be a commonality.
I love golf and skiing. Actually.
Perfect. See, I'm psychic. I knew this. This is his bio right here.
It is a changing society indeed. It actually brings us to the name of our third theme. Now, Demetrius, are we seeing some kind of post-human or human augmentation around our natural romance and physicality, or is love going to hell in some kind of metaphorical digital handcart?
Well, this is a difficult question, but it is my firm belief that we must at last sort out the so-called post-human debate once and for all. If we are truly and seriously concerned with understanding the past, present, and future of human sexuality, it is absolutely crucial to begin by digesting the fact that man is not some pre-technological natural entity that has been discovered, but a regulative, techno-cultural category that has been invented, a techno-scientifically constructed and culturally mediated artifact. In that precise sense, it is easy to understand that what we call human sexuality has always already been, whether we like it or not, a post-human prosthetic implant, an artifact, a historical construct, a technical medium itself. The post-humanist debate has only recently been raised at the dawn of late 20th century post-industrial era due to the relentless advent of computational microtechnologies which are in extreme proximity to our body and even embedded in it, transforming it into a sort of extension of them. But make no mistake about it, the issue goes far back in history.
I think just to chip in, what's really interesting about what you just said to me just there is that notion of sexuality being like an add-on. And yet, you know, we are genetically disposed to procreate, as is pretty much every creature. There's a few that don't need to. And our DNA is there to survive and pass itself on to the next generation and the next generation. To me, there's a very big disconnect between the societal notion of and cultural notion of sexuality and the emotional one, and what is buzzing away down there in our DNA and our, I guess, the kind of primordial soup that created us. It's always mystified me in a way that it's not a more direct relationship. I think my dog has a very direct relationship. He doesn't have, there's not much thought process. It's like, you know, female dog must mate kind of thing. But for us, it's a much more complicated process. And I'm kind of fascinated about, has culture and society given us that? Or is it the fact that we are creatures on this planet with the biggest brains, so we make everything massively more complicated than we ought to? I don't know. It's a good question.
Well, excuse me, may I interrupt you? May I intervene?
Go ahead.
Well, I can give you some examples. This is an answer to what Tom has just said about DNA and cultural environmental factors, right?
Yeah.
I think that we have to really focus on the cultural element. Consider, for instance, the role of animistic mating rituals and other cultural techniques in the preservation and propagation of primitive tribal groups. Consider the role of the incest taboo, that is, the universal prohibition of incest, in establishing the practice of exogamy as our species' most dominant structure of kinship and affinity. Consider the absolutely central role of statues, pictorial and theatrical representations in ancient Greco-Roman erotic ethics. Consider the impact of Christianity on the complexification of psychosexual development. Consider the role of the nuclear family in the Oedipalization, as in the Oedipus complex, of male sexual desire and the hysterization of female bodies. As demonstrated by Freudian psychoanalysis, what is needed for modern-day family drama to appear is the explosive combination of three ingredients: a triangular structure consisting of a daddy, a mommy, and a young brat, trapped in a Viennese two-story bourgeois house against an early industrial capitalist backdrop. So, you can easily understand the importance of the cultural, environmental element in shaping human sexuality. I would dare to say that it's even stronger than the DNA. I can go on with other examples, but I don't want to waste your time.
Well, let's get on. There was something I saw today when I was prepping for this, and
They're kind of the new online dating words, and to be quite honest with you, I don't know any of them. And was on Bumble up to the point of meeting my girlfriend, but I've never heard any of these. So let's have a little fun and go over these right now.
These are good ones, yeah.
So the first word is phubbing, is when your partner prefers to look at their phone rather than you. I'm sure everybody's seen that at some point or the other. Phubbing is spelled P-H-U-B-B-I-N-G.
Oh, I'm reading my notes.
The next word is benching, is when somebody seems interested in you but never wants to meet you in person. I'm sure this is all stuff we can relate to.
You're on the sidelines. Yeah.
The next one is, and this one's really interesting, is love bombing. It's when the relationship moved along so fast and they told you they loved you, followed by manipulation and abuse. Breadcrumbing is when somebody is nice to you in small doses, but then they won't talk to you in between.
Yeah, they leave breadcrumbs and you keep eating from them, right? Pick, but they tap in, text you a little bit, but then you don't hear from them. Then they're back again, feeding you some bread. And you just keep, it's a vicious cycle. Yeah, say no to breadcrumbing.
So,
not good.
How much of this is down to mobile phones making it possible, and where will new technology take us?
So, I mean, breadcrumbing to me is it's a sort of extension of other conditions. It's almost like Stockholm, condition where you're falling in love with your hostage taker or whatever. And there's no limit to the evil plans and cunning of people who are engaging in bad relationships, particularly deliberately. I think the phone with the internet technology is simply giving those people, those very small, fortunately small percentage of people in society, every opportunity to engage in these terrible behaviours, nefarious practices. But the phone itself, it has revolutionised everything. And it's interesting to me that really what it is doing is giving us near unlimited computer power, in information and entertainment at any time, all of the time. So I read an article a few weeks ago that said that 95% of people are looking at their mobile phone within 2 minutes of waking up. And I'm probably guilty of that. Mm-hmm. Although my phone does set off an alarm, so I have to look at it to turn it off, I guess. Culturally, we're still absorbing what this means. And some of you may know there's a book by Alvin Toffler called Future Shock, which was written in the mid-70s. And in that, he talks about the inability for us to absorb and adjust to change culturally compared with the speed at which that change is happening. So there's a lot of that going on. And it's interesting as well because just as a society starts to adjust and adapt, something else comes along. You've got to remember, Facebook it's a lot less than 10 years old, I guess. So we talked about MySpace earlier. There's always something else that will wipe out whatever else we had. This disruption is endless. The speed does cause stress and anxiety in the workplace, personal lives. It seems to be a truism that everyone is short of time, not enough time to have a relationship. Well, what is the point in being on this planet if you don't set aside time to have a relationship? Because in the end, you're going to be pushing up the daisies, so you might as well focus on having a good relationship and make time for whatever else you can.
Make time for dating.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people don't.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, a lot of singles come to me and they're like, well, I'm not available for 2 weeks. I'm like, but you want a boyfriend, but you're not available for 2 weeks. So I think you really have to say, hey, do I have time to be dating? Am I willing to sacrifice maybe a Thursday night or a Wednesday night to meet for a drink after work? You have to put the time in. He's not going to just show up at your door with a hot steaming pizza and be like, I'm ready. You know what I mean? So you have to do the work, and I think you have to be selfless and just be really open to, hey, now there's somebody in my life. So it's not all about me. It's not all about going to yoga all the time. It's about incorporating this person into my life too, but still doing my stuff, but, you know, having him join in it. So I think sometimes women and men that have been single for, you know, a long period of time, where we're in this bubble that we're comfortable and we like our space and we don't want anyone to mess it up. And so when we start dating somebody new, it's like, oh my God, now he's leaving the toilet seat, you know, all these things bother us. So I think you just have to be aware that, yeah, you gotta like, let that shit go.
How important do you think faith is versus, you know, the philosophy of, okay, doing these things in a structured way and, you know what I mean, coaching someone into becoming a better single person to get them to go out and meet people, but
yeah.
How much do you, as a dating expert, how much do you believe in faith, knowing that sometimes when you're trying too hard and you're looking too hard, it can come off as quite obvious.
Like you mean away. Desperate?
Not desperate, but just trying a little too hard. People can, you know, tend to do that. But sometimes it kind of love will find you right when you're not looking, you know. And how much do you teach your students to, you know, not only to do things the right way, but also to have faith and, you know, that it will find you when the time is right, so to speak.
Well, back to the technology thing, because everybody's so glued to their phones, and like I'll ride the streetcar and I see everyone's just like this, and nobody's even like looking at each other saying, hey, like how was your day, or excuse me, can I sit with you? Like nobody's talking or interacting. So this is why I tell my singles, I want you to talk to two to three strangers a day. Get out of your comfort zone, act like a tourist, ask a question. They're like, what? I'm like, think about when you're on vacation. How many people do you talk to? At least 10. Excuse me, where's the Italian restaurant? Excuse me, where's the washroom? Where's this? Act like a tourist in your own city. It's like the best tip I can give you. When you act like a tourist, you're vulnerable, you have questions to ask, and then now you're building a connection with somebody. Even if it's something simple like, where's the Italian restaurant in this neighborhood? I heard there's amazing pizza. Oh yeah, go to Gusto's, it's great. Oh, you've been there, what's your favorite pizza? Oh, I like this. Hey, they got great wine. Well, do you want to join me? Or maybe it's just a simple connection. And maybe that guy has a single brother that would be perfect for you. So this is what I mean. It's about maximizing your pool. You know, breaking out of your comfort zone, mixing up your routine, not just going work, gym, home, work, gym, home, work, gym, home. Oh, I'm still single. Well, are you doing anything different? Not really. Okay, well, let's switch it up.
So we are going to get back to the panel shortly, but right now, Tom, if you'd like to introduce Pat from McGilda's.
Fantastic. I was just going to say also, Shannon,
sorry.
I don't think that advice works for British people. I put my hand up. Is anyone else here British? There's a few, small number.
You don't talk to strangers, come on.
No, we don't ask for instructions. I mean, hell would freeze over before an Englishman asked for directions anywhere.
Okay.
That's why we're always lost. And we're too mean to pay for the data when we're overseas, so we can't use the map. But we'll talk about that.
You wouldn't ask where the debit machine is? I'm kidding.
No, we keep the money in our socks.
Okay.
So the format, we probably should have mentioned this earlier, but we're here, Six Trents has been working as a partnership with the Spoke Club on this series of events. It's the second of 6 that we're hosting in this season. And as part of that, our Six Trents charity of choice that we're supporting is the Guilds Club of Greater Toronto, and our Chief Executive Officer of that, Pat Brown, is here. So she's going to talk for a couple of minutes about that, and then we're going to give you a surprise bit of fun, a little app that we've written. Every time we do one of these, we write a little app quickly, and if you want to, there's no obligation. You can make a donation through the app, but you can use the app anyhow. So perhaps, Peter, if we can we kick off the back projection? It's not. It's gone.
Yeah. We didn't
No
do
back
the
projection.
last question.
Okay, so sadly we went to the.
We didn't do
I'll
this.
get back
In
in.
front of,
Okay.
actually, I probably don't need this. Is it okay if I stand?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I think you need the mic so we can capture your. Yeah. Go for it.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Tom. I'm really pleased to have this opportunity to come and tell you about the work we do at Guildas Club. It's a really hard act to follow, I must admit, but Guildas Club, for those of you who are unfamiliar with our registered charity, is named after the famous comedian Gilda Radner, who was a Saturday Night Live star, who had her own journey with cancer. We opened our doors in 2001, and we were the 3rd Gilda's Club in the world to do so. We actually are part of an international organization called the Cancer Support Community with affiliate offices around the globe. We provide social, emotional, and practical support, which is an absolute necessity for a complete cancer care plan, as well as a complement to medical treatments. And we do this through the 170 programs that we've developed, so healthy lifestyles and arts and technology workshops, as well as education centers, services. And we deliver those to our over 2,500 members in the Gilda's Club in Greater Toronto at our beautiful location at 24 Cecil Street, which is about a 7-minute walk from University Avenue and all of the hospitals located there. We do not get any government funding, and we offer all of our programming and membership free of charge because we want to eliminate as many barriers as possible, including financial, for people to access our services. But we need to do a lot more. There's a number of people who can't come to our physical location because of the type of disease that they have, or now, geographically, because many people are receiving chemo at home. So we have been working with Six Trends as well as Tom Barker to develop a cross-platform web application where we're going to push out live learning. We're going to have a scheduler or an event calendar, letting people know about all of our programs. They will have the opportunity to have an appointment schedule as well as a wellness diary. And we're very excited about this opportunity. We feel that it's something that is absolutely mandatory in today's age. And so we're very grateful to Six Trends for including us in this wonderful series. How this app is going to work is, let's assume that you're sitting in Whitby and you're a caregiver for your partner who has just been diagnosed with cancer, and they're doing in-home chemo and they have lost a lot of weight. So what you're trying to do is figure out the best way to help them regain some of that weight. And so you receive a notification on your cell phone, and it tells you that Chef Amy Symington will be delivering our Not Just Supper program in 20 minutes. And you can, that program is actually one of our cooking demonstration programs that we offer every Tuesday night from our physical location at Gilda's Club. So you may not be able to come into Toronto for that particular event. You may not want to leave your partner for that length of time. But it's very easy and accessible to go on that phone and to log in and be able to ask Chef Symington pertinent questions about what types of nutrients, what are the best healthy plant-based foods that you can offer your partner. So this app is going to help us expand our programming, and it will help us reach the 1 in 2 Canadians that are going to be diagnosed with cancer. One of our members, who's just in her mid-20s, probably said it best. We're all here talking about apps and everything, and you can imagine a young person being diagnosed with a disease like cancer. And what she said is that the doctors and nurses made sure she lived, but Gilda's Club gave her life back. So we hope that you will consider coming and seeing Gilda's Club. We'd love to give you a tour. And if you're willing to help support our program initiatives, including this digital transformation that we're so grateful for Six Trends help with, I encourage you to see this wonderful app that Tom's talking about that he and his group have just developed for you for tonight. So thank you.
So it really is an amazing charity, and the fact they have a physical location, which is really special, means a lot to people who are suffering from cancer and partners and family. So since our technology has failed, we can't project the web address, so I've very carefully been writing that out whilst Pat was talking. So we invite you all to spend a minute. If you go to sixtrends.ca/pup, as in puppy, then you're going to have a chance to have your very own digital puppy. So as part of this, I'm going to ask questions. So who had a great Valentine's night? Anybody? It's a bit of a private question. Apologies. Who had a really bad Valentine's night? No one admitting. Okay. And the rest of you are not telling me. So you can keep that secret to yourselves, but the digital puppy will help you. If you're happy and things went well, then you can continue to spread the love with your digital puppy. And if you had a terrible Valentine's Day, then hopefully our digital puppy will give you a little bit of fun. So has anyone managed to get onto that? 6trends.ca/pup. Oh, it looks like a few people have found a puppy. What did you get?
Got a pug.
A pug? Is that what you always dreamt of for?
Chow? Chow chow?
Okay, press the button when it comes up. You tap, there's a big button in the middle. We have a wheel that spins around. So push the button in the middle, the wheel spins around and it chooses the dream puppy for you. We're using the latest artificial intelligence techniques. We analysed you all before you arrived, picking over the data in your digital footprints. So, you got one? What did you get?
I got a breed pug.
Oh, pugs are winning.
Height was weight, whole deal. Likes, dislikes.
Anybody else?
Personality traits.
A Chihuahua, okay. So, again, no obligation, but there's a big red button on that. If you ever want to make a donation to Gildies, you can just press that button, and it will find a way of working with you to get some money off you. The donation could be anything from $1 to as much as you like. So, after that interlude, we're going to get back, and I think Ryan's going to take questions from the audience. We'll continue the conversation.
Yeah, so anyone, any audience member who would like to ask a question, just please raise your hand. I will point you out, and just if you could stand up and just say your name and where you're from, and then which panelist you would like to ask a question to. And not myself, because I'm not a dating expert, just for the record.
Yes, you are.
Participant, dating participant.
Now, one more question I had for Shannon that I missed here. Shannon, a study that has shown that there's a lot more interracial relationships that are more common online, but it shows that some people gravitate more towards their own tribe. And some dating sites are very tribal. For example, the alarming TrumpSingles.com and the exclusive Bumble VIB. Now, is it just this a return of ancient archmaking as we know it from the musical Fiddler on the Roof, or what can we expect to see from that?
Well, yeah, I think. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah. I think, of course, we're all trying to be our own matchmakers, which is great. But we've developed. There's these new online dating sites like Fitness Singles. So that you'll say, hey, I want to join Fitness Singles because I like to be fit and blah blah blah. But I'm saying with these sites that are geared to a specific tribe or a specific genre or whatever it may be, I always recommend that you date outside of your type, right? Because we're all fixated, oh, that person's not my type. I don't date that guy. He's not tall enough. He doesn't have enough hair, whatever it may be. So we're fixated on our type, which I think in the end hinders us from finding quality romance and love, because a lot of times when you look back, the person you fell in love with wasn't your ideal type, was it? If you think about who was the love of my life, it probably wasn't this perfect carbon copy of what you thought. So I think that's why these sites that are geared to specific, Fitness Singles or JDate or whatever it may be, I think it's good to branch out into other ones as well and open up the database of singles and just not be fixated on your specific type. And I always recommend dating outside of your type so that you give everyone a fair shot. Because you never know who you're going to fall in love with, and a lot of times someone's character, personality, looks fade, we get old, but it's the person's heart that matters and their brain and how we connect emotionally that counts. So this is why with online dating, we're so fixated on, physical looks, because it's basically attraction is the first thing we see. We look at a picture, we say yes or no. If you're not good looking enough, goodbye. So it's like all these people are getting missed out, which to me is so sad. That's why I do matchmaking, because these poor online people come to me and they're like, I'm fed up. So the matchmaking is the next route for them.
With your clients, do you tell them that they suggest they read the person's profile instead of just looking at the photo and swiping right?
Yeah, and I always recommend, if you are online dating, you should always have a little blurb about yourself. And don't just leave it blank and be lazy. Don't be a lazy dater. And also say what you're looking for. Hey, I'm looking for something casual, or you know what, I do want long term. It's one line. I know some people are like, oh, what if it scares them away? Well, do you want serious or do you want hookup? So let's be real here.
Okay, so we'll start taking questions from the audience. And Leanne is there, the moderator, with the mic.
Lovely.
Hi, my name is Vivi. I have a question for Shannon. So I did work with some of those clients before, then I found some of them are really cocky. And
Which clients?
I've worked with the dating service before.
Okay, so
as
you worked with a
matchmaker.
matchmaking service?
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's some people that are really in their head, and it's really hard to tell them that there's
Or that
something they should
they need to
change.
improve.
Yeah, so how do you deal with people like that? Because
Yes.
they think they're this
They're ready
millionaire-
and ready
yeah,
to,
and-
yeah. So what I do is, if someone comes to me for matchmaking and I don't feel they're 100% date ready, that's kind of how I term it, then I say, hey, let's start with some coaching. Right now you're here and I want to bring you up to here. So it's nothing bad, but if I throw you out on a date, you're going to self-sabotage. If you haven't been on a date in 3 years, I'm not going to throw you to the wolves because you're going to fail, right? So let me coach you throughout this process. Once you're feeling confident and ready, then we can move forward with matchmaking. But until then, I'm not just going to take
Yeah.
singles that just,
But
you know,
what about
aren't
those
ready.
people who are not really receptive of your coaching? Do you just
Most people that come to me are receptive. If they're not, then they're not. There's nothing I can do. But a lot of people that have come my way are looking for help other than asking their friends or family. And because I'm an outside source, I'm not your best friend. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm not going to hurt your feelings, but I'm going to be constructive. And there's a difference being mean, like Millionaire Matchmaker, and being nice like Shani. No, I'm kidding. So there is a firm line, right? You have to be careful, you know. I've taken men to Botox clinics to get their eyes done, and it's taken years off of his looks, and he has a girlfriend now. And I'm not saying that one little thing changed, but it helped enhance his beauty. And if I can give you that one tip that maybe you didn't think of, I'm going to do that for you.
So how did you bring that up? Because stuff like that, I feel like it can.
Well, you have to build a
like,
relationship. You have trust. You build that client relationship. It's not like I just go up to people and say, fix this. You know, it comes throughout time. So if you hire me as your matchmaker, that, you know, we facilitate. I'm kind of like your coach throughout the whole process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'm sorry, Eric. Yes, yell at it.
All right. It seems like today, it's not really guided at anyone, but anyone can answer this question. It's not designed to a specific person. But I was going to talk to
We want to get you live.
So it seems like today there's a lot more people that blame technology, right? Like we hear it more and more that when people are having trouble finding a significant other or finding a long-term relationship, they blame technology over themselves, right? It's, you know, tech has changed the way the world operates. So, or AI or bots or Tinder being whatever, you know, instant gratification of images. So whatever they choose to blame. So when you hear that technology is being more and more blamed, what advice would you give people in the room, or is technology to blame? That's the question.
So this is a great question, and thank you, Eric. Eric, interestingly, I would say he's a senior manager at one of the world's most successful dating companies that doesn't know it. He's at LinkedIn.
Oh, wow. That's where I get my clients.
It's like, it's successful because it precisely isn't a dating site. I think that's one of the things. It's professionals meeting each other and having, you know, useful conversations that turn into friendships. So, okay, the blame game. Yeah, I mean, I think Shannon, you might actually be better placed to answer this. But one of the things I would say is, a lot of it to me comes back to the time slicing, the allocation of time. It's interesting that Google bought a company that was specializing in tasks with conclusions or goals as opposed to to-do lists. And I think they've been integrating that into their calendar system, because as humans, we're much better at being goal-driven to deadlines. Now, that as a technology we all accept in the workplace, it's contemporary practice. When we think about it as as individuals outside the workplace, that we don't tend to do quite as well. And it's like the New Year's resolution, and you write down 10 things that you're going to do that year. It's like most of them are impossible, or like renew the membership of the gym, lasts about 3 weeks, etc., etc. So I think, we have a tendency as humans to blame everybody and everything that we can. So I would say, okay, 2 techniques that work quite well. One is self-awareness. Like, instead of just saying that individual was useless, they weren't available that one time slot over the 2-week period I wanted to meet them, it's like, well, maybe you're doing something wrong, that you've created that like tiny, tiny opportunity for somebody. So the self-awareness, self-reflection as well is, what are you actually terrible at? Yeah, we all suffer, the Americans have a term for it now, pronoia. We all suffer a little bit from pronoia, which is the opposite of paranoia. You think that you're doing amazingly well compared with how you are doing, and yet all humans are fallible, and we do lots of terrible things every day, which we just we interpret our own narrative, and that's kind of good as well, because it gives us strength to keep going through bad stuff, but it's also a weakness, because that self-awareness doesn't necessarily come from meeting up with your friend, having a drink on a Friday night and saying, oh, it's another terrible week with that terrible individual that messed it all up, was no use, I don't want to meet them again. Without actually thinking, well, maybe some of it was down to you. So I think it's interesting to me that some of the tools and technology has evolved in the workplace, but it hasn't evolved in how we behave personally. Yeah. Do you agree?
Yes. Oh, yes. I've coached a lot of individuals that aren't really making time for themselves. And, they're just so focused on their career and building that up and, working out and doing things, but not really looking at their own life and their own goals and their own, making time to go on dates, making time to like go to the spa or whatever they want to do to get them relaxed and rejuvenated. A lot of people are blaming technology because this is the only thing they're doing. So if it's not working, well, it's shit. It's that guy's a jerk. I'm done with online dating. It's crap. Everybody's losers. So this is what's happening because they're relying on this one dating app instead of going out and doing the work for themselves. And that's why I push singles to go out and do the work. It's the same as you go to work, you put in an effort, you schedule meetings. Why not schedule a time for dates? Why not, why not make time to socialize or go to a concert with a friend? Don't just wait for stuff to happen. You really have to like get involved. And volunteering is great. Wine tastings, whatever you're interested in, you're going to kind of meet like-minded people there. So don't be afraid to venture out of your comfort zone. And if you are single who may not have a singles network of friends to go out with, then I'm a personal wing woman as well, so I can take you out and help you meet people that way. I do little introductions, I go to the bathroom, you work your magic, and now you have a date.
You don't steal all the best dates, though, do you? You're a wingman?
Pardon?
You don't steal all the best dates?
No. I wear a ring, so people think I'm engaged. So they're like, are you guys a couple? No, we're friends, yeah. But just know that there's resources out there for you. There was an article in the Globe and Mail about it, about hiring a wing woman. You can Google it. It's great. People hire this service all the time. So don't be afraid to utilize it.
But I actually have a question. Sorry now. Because you're talking about putting effort in. And at the last speaker series, Tom, you did a presentation where you had taken a walk in the park with our granddaughter, and the Google could based on Google Maps, you could map out where you had been and where you were coming back to. So could technology help us a little bit more? It seems that it's sort of at a bit of an esoteric level. You swipe left, you swipe right, whatever. What if you were able to swipe left or right, and you would know if that person had been at the park nearby you earlier in the day?
There is the dating app Happen, where you see who you've crossed paths with.
Or what if you knew about what their likes and dislikes were? So could technology help us in that way, not just with perhaps dating relationships, but social, being able to put in that effort and be social?
So I think, I'll jump in here with one comment. I think that a lot of these techniques, they're quite interesting. Like, you're in the location, there's someone nearby who would like to have a coffee with you or whatever, coffee and a donut. But isn't that what they call it outside? I think the bagel, that's it, thank you.
Oh, coffee meets bagel.
Coffee meets bagel. I am a little bit rusty as a user. I'm more behind the scenes.
He's engaged.
I have to say, yeah, there's the thing. So if you're looking at what this stuff is doing, it's very functional. It's like someone's there, somebody matches this, that, and the other. What it's not doing is any of the emotional stuff. Like, is that person in the mood to meet? Well, they might say, yeah, but what about the majority of people who are not in the mood to meet because they're having a tough day and it's like the weather's not great outside, etc., etc. Like, how do you get an app like that to put two people in the mood to meet? Right now, you don't. Yep. Whereas, as Shannon was saying, you bump into someone in a coffee store and you start a pointless conversation about something, and it becomes a more interesting dialogue. You're kind of getting drawn out of yourself and into the social environment. And I'm not really seeing that with the apps yet. And I don't know if it's because what we really need to see is stuff in a physical, spatial environment. I mean, imagine if there was a little, I've got my augmented reality glasses on, there's a little pink glow above those of you who are starting to feel a little bit amorous from this evening, from the evening's conversation, then that might make it a little bit more approachable to start a conversation. And if I start chatting to somebody who's got a pink glow and it starts going pinker, then that's good, and maybe it goes, maybe a big cross appears and I've messed up. Yeah, it's like playing The Sims. These things are coming. You better believe it. Yeah, and when your phone is starting to do filtering for you and giving you this information, then it's going to be, I think it's going to be game changing if it can happen in a physical space as opposed to just swipe left, swipe right, which to me is kind of ludicrous. I think Tinder has recognized that. They're starting to try and build more profiling and more data about people.
And also video profiles are going to become really popular, I think, in the future. Instead of written bios, it's going to be like, hi, I'm Shani, and I'm 39, and I'm single, and I like this, and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I think that's going to be really cool, because then you're going to really showcase your personality. It's not just a photo. You can be funny. You can just be who you are.
I'm surprised that hasn't come onto the market.
I think somewhere it is happening now. I just forget exactly where. But I was approached as a matchmaker to do videos for client, like to partner up with someone and do like a video as a profile instead of just a written one. So I do like the concept.
I just want to ask Eric a question. That seems to be how LinkedIn is evolving, right? With the video uploads and things like that. And I'm seeing that even in employment recruitment, that they're asking for more videos and things like that. Do you think that that's impacting right across the board from the standpoint of what you do, the work you do?
Yeah, well, videos.
That's it. It's king, right? Queen or king.
Canadians are also the country that watches the most amount of videos for any online population in the world.
Really?
Yeah, so 87% of Canadians will watch a video that's longer than 60 seconds in the next 30 days, which is more than any other country second places. So we love videos. I blame the cold winter. Yeah, massively depends. Oh, am I supposed to say something? Oh no, I just thought it was funny because the video for dating, I was making a comment to Sash here that, I don't know if you remember, it's like old school VHS tapes where you'd record live your video dates and then it would be delivered to people's homes. It's like, the 80s are coming back now, just in a form of online technology, so, or 90s.
Cool.
Can you repeat the stat that Canadians are what?
Oh, it's so 87% of the online population in Canada will watch a video that's longer than 60 seconds in the next 30 days. So that's the highest percentage of online population in the world for a country. So we are more likely as Canadians to watch videos than anybody else.
I watch them before bed all the time. I get like hooked. Yeah.
Any other questions? Sure.
I actually agree. The utility of video is well, it's just been super useful. I used Bumble to match with someone, and I had my radius set to 2 kilometers only, and I was previously successful with that in my dating, and then I was outside of my area at work, and I swiped, and I happened to match with somebody who lives abroad in Europe, and then he was just leaving, and so on and so forth, but we switched to like FaceTime video, and then through that we've been able to like really get to know each other in different circumstance, like, you know, if I'm getting ready to host a dinner for friends and, you know, whatever, like, you see each other in your day-to-day. So I think video dating would be fantastic.
Yeah, there's Zoom, Skype, everything you can utilize nowadays. No, that's a great story. Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
Any more questions?
That's a good example of her branching out, like doing something different. Yeah.
Anyone else? No? Okay, well, I'd like to thank everyone attending on behalf of Six Trends at the Gilders Club and the Spoke Club. You can follow President of Six Trends, Mr. Tom Barker, on Twitter @SixTrends. And if for any of you who would like dating advice and a personal life coach for dating, you can follow @Shanny in the City, SHANNY in the City. So we would like to thank Mr. Demetrius. Right now, what time is it there in Greece right now? 2 in the morning?
What time? It's 2:30.
2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, 2:24.
So a quick round of applause for Demetrius for staying up till 2:30 in the morning. We appreciate it.
I think Demetrius is probably just about ready to go out night clubbing, aren't you?
So yes, that would be perfect, but no, I won't go clubbing.
And thank you very much to Peter for getting everything set up and all the hard work you've done to get this production happening. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending.
Thank you, and a big thanks as well for Ryan for hosting this, and for Shannon, who's given us some fantastic insights. I'm sure you'll all be able to pick up her cards at the back of the room. And also for Pat and Lee coming on behalf of Gilders to represent themselves. Thank you very much.